Hi, this is Dave Payne from Elastifile. At Elastifile, we're helping organizations accelerate their business by making it easier to run their applications in cloud. So our customers can run their existing applications that need file services in cloud without the hassle and the cost of refactoring the storage layers. So this demo will walk you through the simple process of standing up a file system with Elastifile in your Google Cloud project and mounting data through NFS. So let's get started. The first thing you want to do is just open up a browser, go to Google, and you'll search for Google Cloud Marketplace. So Google Cloud Marketplace makes it easy to launch applications with a single click into your Google Cloud project. I will go to Explore Marketplace, and from here simply search for Elastifile. And you'll see a couple of options come up. We have our cloud file system, and we also have a storage provisioner for Kubernetes. Today we'll focus on the file system deployment. So we'll click there. Notice on this page there's instructions. If you scroll down toward the bottom, you can hit a link that will bring you out to a set of prerequisites that you can check to make sure your project is ready for deployment. And there's also a deployment guide that you can run through that will walk step by step through pretty much all the instructions that I'm going to show you here in this video tutorial. Okay, so to get started, once you're logged in, I'm already logged in with my account, we can just hit launch. And so when we launch, we pick a project that we want to deploy in. And we give the deployment a name, and we'll call this one Elastifile Demo. We'll pick a zone out of all of the zones available in Google, and it'll take a default network. Everything else doesn't have to be changed. It allows HTTPS to get to the management console, port 22 for SSH, and we can hit deploy. Okay, our demo has been deployed, and you'll see on the right that there's a default username, admin, password, we'll copy that. An address to launch the management console has been provided here. We'll log in with the credentials provided for us. We'll accept the EULA. And we're ready to get started. So you'll see here that there's a registration page. We'll fill that out. And then it goes through a prerequisite check to make sure that everything looks good for deployment inside of your project. We've passed all the tests here, and we're ready to move forward. We'll give this system a name. Again, we'll call it Elastifile Demo. So the first option is max failures to tolerate. We can select 1 or 2. This decision tells the system how many node failures to tolerate before locking the system for writes. So FTT1 means we keep 2 copies of all the data on separate nodes, and FTT2 means we keep 3 copies of data on separate nodes. We'll pick 1 in this case. The next option by default and the preferred option for load balancing is using the Google Cloud Load Balancer. That choice is selected here. If we turn that off, we can optionally use alternative DNS or DNS round robin for load balancing across the cluster. We'll leave the Google load balancing on and continue forward. So the next step is to add capacity to the cluster, and currently there are 3 different types of capacity we can add. We've got 2 options with SSD persistent disks. These are backed by Google PDs. We've got small and medium sizes. The small cluster means that each node adds 0.7 terabytes of SSD to the cluster with a minimum starting capacity of 3 nodes equaling 2.1 terabytes. So this is good for low capacity but higher performance requirements. A medium cluster would mean each node adds 4 terabytes of SSD capacity to the cluster with the minimum starting capacity of 12 terabytes across 3 nodes. So this is better for environments where you need higher capacity but still need higher performance. And then lastly, the other option is standard persistent disks. So these are backed by standard PDs, which are HDDs. So this is good for environments where you need higher capacity and moderate performance. Alternatively, Elastifile can support custom configurations to meet different performance and capacity requirements that fall outside of these options. So if you need something like that, feel free to contact Elastifile support to discuss your needs. So in this case, we'll pick an SSD with small configuration, hit add and deploy, and the process begins. Okay, our capacity is added and the cluster is fully deployed and operational. We're ready to begin. So the first step would be to create a data container. So a data container is think of it as a logical grouping of files that are managed as a single collection. And so we can apply policies and features at the data container level. So for example, data reduction techniques like dedupe and compression are added on a data container. Other features are implemented such as async replication, snapshots, tiering. All of these things are applied at this level. So to get started, we click Create Data Container. We'll give this data container a name. We'll call this one FS01. And you can see here dedupe and compression can be enabled or disabled. We can set the size of the data container. The end user sees this size, which would be 1,000 gigabytes or 1 terabyte. So we'll start with this size and create. That's created, and we give some simple instructions on how to mount the file system from the command line. So at this point, we will create an NFS client in Google and Linux, and we'll create a file system and we'll run some performance tests on it. Okay, let's get started. So the first thing we'll do, we'll switch to root mode, and we will install NFS onto this client. Okay. We'll show what file systems are visible on the client right now. Let's create a mount that we can mount the file system to. And we'll mount the file system we just exported from the Elastifile data container. There's the folder. Okay, we'll check the mounts again. And you'll see that we just mounted a NFS file system that 1,000 gigabytes or 1 terabyte to /mount/Elastifile. Now what we'll do is install a file system performance generation tool called FIO. And I will load a script that will generate load to that file system. Okay, it's begun. And if we move over back to the console from Elastifile, we'll go to the main screen and we'll click on performance. We'll see that load is starting to generate and activity is moving between this client and the Elastifile cluster. Okay, so your cluster's deployed and you're ready to go. Okay, as a reminder to get started, you can go back to the marketplace page and again follow the link down below to follow the GCP deployment guide to deploy Elastifile step by step. Another option you have for learning how to deploy Elastifile is to leverage the Google Quick Labs. If we go to google.quicklabs.com, you'll find an Elastifile tutorial that has all of the commands that I used in this tutorial. Search for Elastifile at Quick Labs, click Getting Started with Elastifile, and once you sign up, you'll be able to run through this tutorial to learn how to deploy Elastifile at your own pace.